Anyway, I don't know why I'm laughing. There's no news to laugh about today. Claire Pearsall is with us. She's a former Conservative government advisor. And I mean, we're trying to be cheerful given the madness of the news we're in right now. But of course, we're going to be talking about the migrant sex offender Hadush Kabati. He was mistakenly freed from jail. You remember on Friday, he's been deported back to Ethiopia. According to the Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood, he was wrongly released, of course, from the Chelmsford prison on Friday. Why do I always start sneezing when I'm reading out my... Oh, I do apologise, everyone. Instead of being transferred to an immigration removal centre, 48-hour police hunt later, now they've managed to deport him. He's already arrived back in Ethiopia. Apparently he was... I've seen a headline saying he was detained and released. Oh, good. Oh, good. He could just start his journey back again with the £2,000 no doubt we've paid him. I'm sure they said they haven't paid it to him. He's certainly entitled to it. If you're a foreign criminal, you're deported, you are entitled to £2,000, basically, to agree to get on the plane. That's basically what it's for. Added to that, although of course there would have been a real hope for the Prime Minister that his PMQs is starting in less than an hour's time, that great, that guy's gone, we can move on from that. Well, no, not really, because an Afghan national who entered Britain illegally on a lorry was arrested yesterday after a man walking his dog was killed as part of a triple stabbing. Now, the 22-year-old murder suspect was tasered and arrested minutes after the killing in Uxbridge in West London. Neighbours say that the dog walker, a local bin man, very popular with local people, was named as Wayne Broadhurst, was repeatedly stabbed. Now, you may have seen the video, and there's some horrific footage which is available online of him being stabbed in a frenzied attack. But he'd intervened to stop a 45-year-old man and a 14-year-old boy from being attacked. Both that man and boy have sustained serious injuries in hospital. Added to that, the government's done a crackdown on illegal working in takeaways and food delivery services, hot beauty salons, car washes and the like. Home Office data showed a 63% increase in the number of arrests of illegal workers. But again, what do you do with them once they're arrested? That's what we want to know. They said that this is all part of the pull factors of people working in the gig economy. What you need to do is imprison anybody who employs someone illegally for 10 years. That'll focus their minds. Also going to be talking about Hurricane Melissa. It's hit Cuba now after wreaking havoc in Jamaica. Downgraded now to a Category 3 storm, though it hit Jamaica as Category 5, causing absolute devastation. It's one of the most powerful Atlantic storms in recorded history. 185 mile-per-hour winds and whole towns left underwater. 500,000 people left without power and 25,000 tourists stranded as well. We'll get you up to date on developments there as we get them. As I say, Claire Pearsall is still with me, and we've got to go back to the main topics of the day, and it's amazing how often, every week after week after week after week, and it's not because, we're all obsessed with migrants because we're all xenophobic and we all, feel linked. It's because these are the stories in the news. These are the stories that people talk about in the pub, on the street, in the office when you're getting a coffee. And the migrant sex offender Hadush Kabati finally being deported to Ethiopia. Another illegal arrival from Afghanistan, granted asylum. I cannot wait to see the circumstances for him being granted asylum in 2022. But he's been arrested for a triple stabbing that left a dog walker dead. I mean, these stories are both incredibly worrying, but they are not the only ones. Are we in kind of... Has the risk of illegal migrants being in this country, has that now been exposed to such an extent that no government, whatever their political hue, whatever rosettes they wear on election day, can possibly ignore it ever again?
I think we are getting to that point. This case in particular, I didn't want to see that footage. It came up on social media.
Yeah, I didn't choose to see it.
And it was horrendous. And that poor family now has lost a loved one, and it was horrific, absolutely horrific. I do think it's useful for those who believe in open borders to see this and say, this is the problem with what you want. This is
on you.
This is on you. And it isn't. It's not every Afghan. It's not every Eritrean. It's not every Sudanese person. However, predominantly, you look at the crimes committed. You look at the ethnicity of those individuals.
Or the nationality.
Or the nationality. And it's going to be...
It keeps coming up. The stats are very clear, and the stats are clear across every European country that's had a large influx of migrants from certain parts of the world. And it's nothing to do with skin colour. No. It is to do with the culture of the country where they come from. And if you come from a country where violence is the norm, where sexual violence is the norm, where women are second-class citizens, and where you resolve issues with a knife, then I'm sorry. I don't think I'd like you here. let's not pretend we don't have people like that here already.
Of course.
Born and bred, many generations in this country. But we don't, frankly, if we could do a swap with those people and get rid of them, we'd happily do that too, wouldn't we?
Yes.
The reality is, though, we're stuck with those people and we need to get them off our streets and stop them offending and get them behind bars. But it's not an argument to say, well, people from Britain commit those crimes.
Yeah.
So what's the problem with importing more? Because we don't want more. We don't want those people.
And it's the whataboutery that becomes really pathetic, because we know full well that our own people are more than capable of committing pretty heinous crimes, but they're our people and we will deal with them in the way that we do in this country. So that's irrelevant to what's happening with those people who are coming into this country.
Without any concerns about community cohesion.
Yeah, I don't care really what colour, ethnicity, nationality, sexuality somebody is. If they're a wrong 'un, they're a wrong 'un.
Yeah.
And they need to be dealt with.
I'm interested in nationality and immigration status, because I don't think anyone should be in our country who is not an economic benefit and socially a benefit to this country, and who is completely. I don't even want. I think if you're a guest in another country, I think it's probably a good idea for you not to even get speeding tickets. Sorry, yes. I mean, I'm not saying you should be deported for a speeding ticket, but certainly if you're doing like 100 in a built-up area, yeah, I would like, because you're actually a danger to people at that point. But you have to understand, if you're a guest in someone else's country, as you'll know as a regular viewer or listener, I do like my holidays. But when I'm in other countries, I am aware I can't be me. Stroppy, sharp-elbowed Julia doesn't really work in a lot of countries. I'm not one of those people who goes, "Oh, look at me, my British passport." They're very excited. I do have a new British passport. Doesn't have EU on it anywhere. Yeah. Get in. Yeah. Absolutely love it. But it is you can't just behave as if you own the place, because you don't. Yeah. It's not your country, and you have to abide by the laws and the norms of those countries. That's the deal. And if you don't want to do that when you come here, bye.
Precisely. If I went to some of the, I like quite sort of Middle Eastern-y countries, and I do abide by their customs because I'm a visitor, and I fully expect. No, but I've chosen to go there.
Yes, that's my rule.
I'm behaving myself.
Yeah.
If I don't like it, then I needn't go there. That's quite simple. But then in return, I expect people to come to this country and abide by the laws. But
I think the issue is there's an expectation lots of other countries that people do that, and yet it's like sometimes we say someone's going to get 20 years because they've brought in heroin or coke, and we're all supposed to feel sorry for them. Like, no, but you knew the law, or even the death penalty. I don't approve of the death penalty. If you take drugs into Singapore and they've got the death penalty for bringing drugs in, and you did it knowingly, basically, you're banged to rights. I'm really sorry, and I feel really sorry for your mum for having. But no, I'm not going to campaign on your behalf. I mean, usually these people do get a lesser sentence; they come back to Britain. Yeah, but at the end of the day, you chose. You choose the crime. You take the punishment. It's as simple as that. But we do have the problem we've got in this country is not just these people who arrive here who are a danger to us. It's the fact that we have a whole class of, we talk about the lanyard class or the liberal wokerati. They think they're progressive. They are not. They think they're liberal. Yeah. They are not. Yeah. Who seem to think that there is a certain level of damage to our community. There is a certain level of crime, of sex crime, of violent crime, of economic crime, illegal working, that is somehow acceptable for us to be a, quote, welcoming, nice country. They are utterly delusional about the realities. They are delusional about the economic cost of legal migration. They've been lying to us about that for years. When it was blatantly obvious, we invite like a few million extra people to come to the country, and somehow we got poorer, not richer. Well, just do the maths, guys. It didn't work, and now it's beyond any doubt at all that they're not on out. The average arrival in this country, certainly from a third world country, is not an economic benefit to this country. On the contrary, they are a massive, massive drain. And these people they're in charge, right? They run the Home Office, run the Foreign Office, they work in Number 10, they run the NHS, they run our schools, they run all the unions, they run local councils. These people are in charge. They run every quango set up by Tony Blair to keep himself in power effectively forever, no matter who was elected by the people. They run all these organisations. They run in the EU, running all that, and basically they're deluding themselves, they're lying to us, and this is why we're in the mess we're in. Do we solve this mess with these people still in charge, is my question.
Well, I mean, the short answer is no, you can't solve it with them all still in charge, but you've got to work out where they are, because they do hide in these charities and they hide behind doing good, and people believe them. And I think that the public is now understanding quite how the UK is set up, who works in which office. They know a little bit more about the beliefs. And if you're a civil servant, by the way, you shouldn't have political beliefs on show. So I think that needs to be cracked down on. But when will people realise that you can be kind? It doesn't mean you have to accept what is coming across and what is happening.
But also, who is it your job to be kind to? Because I think your duty of care's got to be to the British people and to the safety, for instance, of young girls first. I think the safety of someone walking their dog along the street, not to be faced by a knife man tearing after a 14-year-old boy and a man, and apparently a woman was also a potential victim, and you try and help them and you end up stabbed to death in a frenzied attack by someone who never needed to be in this country. But I'm sorry. Who do you want to be kind to? Pick a side. I choose the British people every time.
But these people will also live in an area where they're not bothered by this level of immigration.
We love multicultural. We've got a lovely deli at the end of the road.
Yes,
it's terribly good.
Lovely Italian couple.
That's how these people, they do. They absolutely live in cloud cuckoo land. The Lanyard classes are part of the problem, guys. They really, really are. Let's also talk about Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary. I mean, she talks a good game. She's, she's pretty impressive. I do worry. She's been on some of these pro-Palestinian marches, and I do have a concern that, a lot of people get into that job in the Home Office, even like Yvette Cooper, they talk the talk, but actually they don't believe what they're saying. Bit of a backlash now over wanting to house migrants in army barracks. Again, we talked about a lot on the show yesterday, this idea that the solution to the problem is geography.
Yes.
If it is geography, if the solution to the migrant problem is geography, it's global rather than regional. It's not what kind of hotel or house or barracks you're in, it's whether you're in the country in the first place and whether you can leave that and walk on the streets.
Is this the same Labour Party that when the Conservatives suggested housing migrants in disused army barracks, they told us we were evil, nasty, horrible individuals? That just to make sure that I'm remembering this correctly. But all they're doing is just moving the problem. You're right, and they're moving it en masse. What they're doing is taking hotels and then putting 900 people instead of 200 people into one area with no control.
And they think that we're not going to notice anymore.
But they are underestimating
this. They genuinely do not get how angry people are. And I was saying on the show yesterday, and I keep saying it, they think the solution is that we all shut up.
They do. And hysterically, when you look at the likes of the places they want to put them, Crowborough, for example, in Sussex. This is one of the disused army camps. And a news channel went and interviewed a lady on the street and said, what do you think about it? And she was the most well-spoken person who said, absolutely not. And I was quite frightened. I think she used to be a former head teacher because she was one of those, absolutely not. This is ridiculous. We're not having it. We're putting our foot down and we're going to mobilise.
Yep.
And you think,
they will.
Fair play to you.
And everywhere they try and put people, which is why they want to dissipate them into the community, we won't know where they are. Brilliant. Well, we will know where they are, unfortunately, when the next sex assault happens. That's the reality, because people are tuned into it now. It's not looking good for Keir Starmer on the polls. He's down to 17% in the polls, alongside the Tories, your lot, same level. I mean, we talked to a guest of it earlier, Mark Littlewood, and he pointed out, it used to be the case, actually, the two main parties, Labour and the Tories, would command 80% of the votes, certainly in recent years. And again, we've had a lot of major realignment, 2010 going to go into coalition government, 2015 back to normal. And the death of the Tories, the death of Labour, we keep hearing everything and it changes. We are in a very fluid situation in our politics. But we see, Labour and the Tories just 1 point ahead of the Greens, as we discussed earlier. Terrifying, because they are properly nutty. They're basically communists, all intents and purposes. Maybe the British people need a bit of a dose. Maybe all those 17-year-olds who are going to vote for them need a bit of a dose of, because my view is like, you're the guys who are not going to have jobs. You're the guys who the economy is going to be. I'm 57. I'm hoping a lot more years, but I'm all right now. But you won't be. So good luck with that. But these polls are not looking good. Keir Starmer now less preferred than Nigel Farage for Prime Minister, by 30 to 33 for Nigel Farage. Do you think there's any way back for Keir Starmer?
It's difficult, isn't it? Because when you look at this, I don't think we've ever polled as much as we have in the last 3 years. I certainly don't remember polling on a pretty much daily basis prior to that. And if you ask anybody on a certain day, are you happy with what's going on? One day there might be, the next day absolutely not.
It's a snapshot.
It depends. Yeah. So yes, if you look at it, there probably is a way back. Do I think that'll happen? No, really, because I know the people involved and they're not that good. But also other things will happen.
Claire's not hoping for a seat.
Do you think? I think they should.
That's why we have you on, because I like your honesty.
You have to be honest about these things, because the Conservative Party...
What's the solution? Who or what is the solution?
I really wish I knew. I think you just want a
this
political party to listen to the public. What you don't need are lots of different opinions. And
do you need to listen anymore? Don't you already know? I could probably sit down with your party leader and explain what you need to do to get back in power.
But they're not listening. They might hear it.
Why not?
They're not listening.
I mean, they are aware they're not in government right now, and for a very good reason. Well, do they get it?
I'm not sure
they do. They get why people
do.
say they're going to vote reform?
I'm not sure they do.
That's interesting.
I really think that they are so tin-eared and at the moment still being the ostrich with the head in the sand.
And hoping it all goes. And they're hoping
it all goes
away.
away.
Also, they're hoping, let's face it, that Labour do so badly that people go, I'll go Tory again. But there are alternatives now.
They're also hoping that Reform do something that puts their popularity down, and they can sit there and just say, look, here we are.
There we are.
You can't do that, though.
Yeah, I don't think that's worth relying on. I would like all the parties to be performing well, because then we get a choice between good parties. A lot of the time, people are just going, good God, these people are so awful, I'll have to vote for this person.
Yeah.
And it'd be nice if people weren't having to do that. But there we are. What do you make of this £50 billion black hole misery for Rachel Reeves? Apparently a productivity downgrade, blow to the Chancellor as the Office of Budget Responsibility, the fiscal watchdog, lived a worse than expected cut to our productivity outlook ahead of next month's budget. Basically, tax hikes are unavoidable, and you can't just tax the rich. You can't just do the mansion tax on people earning more than, with a house worth more than £2 million. You are looking at taxes going up in breach of the manifesto commitments, because the only way to get enough tax in is to tax a little bit on everybody. That means income tax, more on national insurance, VAT and the like. That will be, I mean, we know that every party breaches their promises on things, and we know that there are certain necessities, and these promises were always dumb. Let's face it, they were always dumb, and no one thought they were going to stick to them. But this would be such an open, blatant breaking of that promises. Do they recover from that?
I don't think the Chancellor recovers from that, because she's been front and centre saying that we're here for the working person, something that they can't comprehend actually what it is. But
the working person doing a 4-day week from home at a council.
But isn't it inevitable that if you hit businesses really hard with a lot of extra taxes, that productivity is going to go down because they're not going to employ people?
Who would ever been able to predict that?
I was rubbish at GCSE maths, and even I
can work that out. I mean, again, even like the house builders, they've now said, look, we're not going to build all your 1.5 million houses you promised to build. I mean, I said that on day one, they're not going to be able to do it. Because here's the thing, because they upped it from the last targets, and no government has hit their targets in the last 20 years.
It doesn't matter what number you put out there, you're not going to hit it as a government because it's too complicated. And if people aren't buying houses because they don't have the financial security to do so, then it's irrelevant how many you're going to build anyway. So let's start by not attacking businesses. Let's do this.
But again,
sensibly.
also these eco rules, the new safety planning regulations, the amount of things. And again, we want safe homes, and of course, we should be building homes that are more, warm and of course we should. But the stuff that is being put on, and the
bureaucracy
and the red tape is so huge, and it is taking a lot of time, and it just means people don't get homes. And again, you're never going to solve, by the way, your demographic problems of people not having kids unless people can afford to buy a home that they can afford to have a kid in. And have a second kid and have another home. I mean, have another bedroom. I mean, it's really basic stuff, isn't it? Let's also talk about what's going on in the Middle East. We haven't talked about that for about a week, but it looks like the ceasefire is on a technicality holding between Hamas and the Israelis. But we did have. It is very interesting how it's been written and talked about in the media. Again, I think the wildly anti-Israel media talking about how it's devastating attacks by Israel on Gaza City, some 60 people dead. And of course, 60 people have been killed and 400 of them are babies. I mean, they always are. I mean, that's the sort of, nonsense, according to the Hamas-run health industry. But it's this in retaliation of an Israeli soldier being targeted in the territory that is meant under the ceasefire deal to be held by the Israelis. Yeah. But also, we've got still Hamas are in breach of the terms of the early, literally stage one of this, point one of this plan, because they have not returned all the bodies of the hostages. Look, the live hostages, absolutely a priority, and thank God they are home. And I think we've got about half, or maybe just more than half, of the bodies they want back. But of course, people need to know for sure their loved ones are dead and not being held. But also, bury them in dignity and get closure. It's important. They say we didn't know where all the bodies were, but the IDF have produced footage, they've drone footage of them basically taking a white shrouded, basically bag of remains out of a house, burying it, and then going, oh look, and filming it. Oh look, we found a body. Oh look, and basically, they do know where the bodies are, and then they returned yet another body that wasn't the body of who they said it was. It was someone who certainly wasn't Israeli. I mean, and then it's always framed as Israel has attacked Hamas, but Hamas are massively, they're attacking Israeli troops, and they are in breach of the ceasefire terms every single hour of every day.
When the headline popped up on my phone, and it was Netanyahu strikes Gaza. Yeah. No context around it, so you have to go in, you have to read it, and you have to understand where it's come from.
Why have they done
and
that?
Why. And you can see that basically the bodies have not been returned to Israel, so Hamas are in breach of that. I want to see what the Americans are going to do with this, because we're now getting to the point where Hamas have broken their side of the bargain. Israel are now starting to go, actually, we're fed up and we're going to retaliate.
Hamas are not laying down their weapons. They're a mass execution.
Did anybody think they would, though?
Apparently Donald Trump, but there we are.
Which beggars belief. So what are America going to do if they are the
well, and he said very clearly when he announced it at the White House with Netanyahu, the 20-point plan, that if Hamas don't play ball, then then they can do Israel can do what they want.
So all eyes on the White House at the moment as to how they're going to react.
Absolutely. What's interesting, of course, we'll be looking forward to the next march for the people who've been massacred in what is literally ethnically based genocide in Sudan. Oh, no big marches? No big marches planned for all the people who really care about people being genocided?
It's horrendous. Isn't that interesting? Absolutely horrendous.
Basically, there's been so many massacres of civilians in Sudan, the Sudanese city of El Fasher, that you can, the sand is stained red with the blood, and it can be seen on Google Maps. Yeah. That's how bad it is. Now, the city fell over the weekend following an 18-month siege. Yeah. Mass killings by the militia groups defending the city alongside the army alleged the rapid support forces committed heinous crimes against innocent civilians. Most of the dead were women, children and the elderly. It's the Sudanese paramilitary rebels who basically piles of bodies. Just extraordinary evidence of door-to-door clearance operations, literally, what's your ethnicity, boom, boom, boom. I mean, looking forward to those marches. I thought we cared about innocent people being genocided. We don't care about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
They don't really know where Sudan is.
An actual genocide taking place right now in real time. Yeah. No one cares.
Well, of course they don't. Because
no Jews, no news.
Exactly, there is no Jewish people, there's no democratic state to blame. You've got a bunch of militia and some people being killed. And as sad as this is, and this has been going on for some time in Sudan, it is appalling what happens out there. And of course, a lot of these lanyard-wearing classes don't even know where it is. Nope. Don't understand.
And to be fair, we don't cover it. And I've seen quite a few reports. BBC and Sky have covered it. I always get the impression they're covering it to cover their back. So no, we do cover it. It's not just Gaza we're obsessed with. But I want to know why the people who are worried about genocide, why don't you care about the genocide that is literally going on, not that far away from Gaza in the big scheme of things, but is actually going on in real time? Huge amounts of evidence of it, because there ain't any evidence of genocide in Gaza, but yet you're marching against that, even when there's a ceasefire, because you just hate Jews. I'm sorry.
I
let's
think
just go
that's
back.
what
We
it
always
comes
come back
down
to.
to.
That's what we come back to every time. But I mean, we digress because there's a lot to talk about at home. But I want to hear from you, your thoughts, and I know you want to. The board is full of calls on 0344 499 1000 about the latest madness of illegal arrivals in this country.